Present means that if there is somebody else in the room and they have other needs, you
Yeah,
appreciate that their needs are different,
yeah,
and how can you be kind towards them? So when you expect them to understand that you need to stand
yeah,
up and fix the curtain, whatever that might be for you, the
mm,
situation of the curtain is going to be different to different
yeah,
people. Uh, how can you do it in a way that you're kind to them?
hmm,
So when you expect them to be kind to you and not tell you, God, you're such a weirdo,
yeah,
and feel, oh, I feel attacked because I've just been told that I'm a weirdo, but
yeah.
do things in a way that you find the middle ground and present.
Previously, the Feel Better Everyday podcast, you're listening to what's now the Souls to Soul Care for Trauma and AuDHD with Eve Menezes Cunningham podcast. Learn to love and care for all your parts, including your ADHD and trauma, from the soles of your feet to your soul. I'm your host and producer, Eve Menezes Cunningham. I'm also an author, the 365 Ways to Feel Better, Self-Care Ideas for Embodied Wellbeing. I'm a columnist for Platinum magazine, monthly columnist, and I use my Feel, Love, Heal framework to support readers with their questions each month. And I've also written for hundreds of titles over the years as a freelance journalist, and also contributed comment around my specialisms of like sleep, trauma, anxiety, neurodivergence, burnout, confidence, finding more purpose, meaning, and joy, embodied somatic approaches. It's very holistic, my approach. I'm a trauma therapist and trauma survivor. I'm an ADHD coach and ADHDer. And I'm a self care coach where I integrate all of my therapies and coaching. So that includes the NLP, the EFT, the crystals, the psychosynthesis counseling, the yoga, the meditation, the mindfulness, the psychoeducation. It's a very collaborative approach. In the podcast, Souls to Soul Care for Trauma and ADHD, certain episodes may be more in one direction, more another. Not everyone is interested in all of my offerings, and obviously that's fine. My intention is to help you remember that you know yourself best, to help you connect with your whole self, to help you work with all your parts, and to help you find that tenderness, that care, that love. And you can help me keep this free by sharing, by subscribing, by giving me a 5-star review if you'd like, and letting me know what you'd like more of. You can email Eve at soulstosoul.ie or comment in any of the comment sections. And I also encourage you to visit soulstosoul.ie for full show notes, as well as wherever you're listening, and links and additional resources. There are lots of free resources, and you can sign up for my free weekly newsletter, Mila Buikas Mondays. It comes out every Monday. Mila Buikas translates as 1,000 thank yous in Irish. And as well as encouraging a gratitude practice, it's a polyvagal informed journal prompts approach to help you map your nervous system, to help you acknowledge that, yes, there's a lot to be grateful for, there's a lot that's magical and awe inspiring in the world, and there's also an enormous amount coming up for healing. And it's not about denial, it's not about toxic positivity, it's about meeting yourself where you are and accessing the supports that are going to help you with that. So do sign up for that for free at the website. And you can, if you're local enough to Westport, you might be interested in the Westport Lunar Circles that I run each month around or on the waning half moon. So the focus is on releasing blocks to balance and harmony, but it's a lovely small group, and you can find out more again at the website. I hope that you enjoy this episode. Thanks again for listening. And as you listen to the episodes, connect with your souls to your soul, scan your whole self, notice what emerges, what parts of the body, what parts of yourself need extra tenderness, need that love, need that care, ask yourself, if I truly loved myself, what would I be doing? And aim to do that. Get to know yourself and enjoy. Welcome to episode 100 of the Feel Better Everyday podcast. I'm delighted to welcome back one of my early guests from episode 24, Dr. Miguel Toribio-Mateas. And I still remember how nervous I was sending him that initial message asking if he'd like to be a guest when I was beginning. He was the first person I heard the term ADHD from, and he's been such an inspiration and kind guide on this journey for me personally. Just an absolute delight. So I'm so happy to have him back, where he'll be talking about how his own self-care has evolved, but most excitingly, his new book. So I hope you love the episode as much as I adore this person who has done so much to help me and others accept and work with our differently wired brains. Um, Let me know what you're going to do differently as a result of listening. So, thank you so much for coming back, Dr. Miguel Toribio-Mateas. You're
Thank you for
here for
having
my
me, Eve.
You're so welcome. I wanted you here to help me celebrate my 100th episode.
Oh,
So,
wonderful. That's
yeah.
great. I'm honored.
And I also want to celebrate you and your work and your new upcoming book. So, can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I've got a book coming out. It's called ADHD Body and Mind. And it's a guide. It's actually the title goes on. So it's a compassionate guide to rewilding your nervous system with neuroscience, nutrition, and gut-brain health. And it does what it says on the tin, basically. It's kind of it's a guide, it's not a
Yeah,
prescription, it's not a protocol for fixing your ADHD. It's about celebrating the fact that a lot of people will resonate more with certain aspects of it. Some people may resonate with other aspects of it. Some people might feel that they struggle more, and I talk about the struggles. Some people might think that it's actually a source of creativity, and I
yeah,
talk about that. So it's quite balanced in that sense. But also, it goes in four parts. So the first part is that kind of like introduction to what is ADHD, how do you experience it? Whichever way you experience it, you can just make it your own.
yeah,
And then I move on to the brain and the nervous system. So what happens in the brain and the nervous system when you have ADHD? And try to explain things because I find that when I understand why something is happening, it sheds light on it. So it's
yeah,
not kind of like a mystical thing anymore. So you can understand better why we may be better at reading instructions as opposed to maybe hearing them. So we may be nodding away, saying, "Yes, I'm getting this," and then it's coming in an ear and going out of the other one. And when you try and remember something, like 3 minutes later, it's gone because your working memory is not having a good day that particular day. So I talk a lot about all of those processes in plain English so people can understand them. Nervous system, the gut-brain axis and the gut-brain connection, nutrition, and also spirituality and self-care. And that's kind of like it builds up towards that because I find that with the best of intentions, if you just focus on the biology of
yeah,
things, on the molecules and you know, eat this food because it will help you with focus, or restrict that food because it will help you with RSD or whatever
mm,
it is, you're kind of like missing the fact that we are multi-layered beings and we have a layer that needs connection and rituals and and kindness and spirituality, whatever that means for you, whether it's religion, whether it's just connecting with yourself or with nature, or whatever that means for you. There's a wide range of spiritual practices. And I think that's really, really important. And it's not something that people talk about so much about ADHD and spirituality, but I think it's a really important part of it. Um, yeah, and it's full of exercises that bring you back to the body. So the whole thing, the kind of like elevator pitch
Yeah.
in ways that I feel that a lot of people with ADHD are we are in our heads a lot of the time and not so much in our bodies. So I try to bring you back to the body with
Yeah.
loads of kind of a somatic kind of exercises throughout the book so you can return to your body so you can feel more at ease in your body. And that is going to have a knock-on effect on how you feel in your mind as well.
Yeah, wonderful. So I'm really looking forward to how your ideal and actual self-care in the various parts of the Feel Love Heal framework have evolved. So the feel bit, the regulatory, the things we can do to help ourselves. And you were saying before we started recording about the curtain. I don't know if you want to say anything about that. But what are like your essential daily and regular practices? And what would be your ideal?
Yeah, I think it's from when we talked last time. I mean, we talked about movement, and that's still important for
Yeah.
me, and particularly walking because I find walking really relaxing.
Hmm.
So I know it's exercise, but it's also really good for my mental health. And I start the day with a long walk anyway with my dog, and that sets me up for the day. But also, we were talking about these curtains. I'm in the room I'm in. I've got these like heavy curtains at one end of the room, and one of them had kind of come off the pole. And I was looking at it the other day, and it was completely doing my head in. It was literally just breaking my brain, thinking, "Oh my God, I'm gonna need to stand up from this meeting and go and tuck the curtain into the pole because it's just come off and it's it's just distracting me." And I had to do this because then I forgot
Yeah.
when I finished the meeting and I went to do something else. And then I sat with you and I was seeing it and I said, I need to stand up and fix it. Otherwise, I'm gonna be distracted all the way
Yeah.
through this as well. And I think celebrating those quirks and
Yeah.
actually thinking, okay, well, I'm not weird.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm broken or that
Yeah.
I'm not an alien. I'm, my brain works like that. And so what? So somebody else's brain is going to work in another way. And
Yeah.
also doing it in a kind way that is not forcing your behaviors onto other people like a get
Yeah.
out of jail card as well. So it's
Yeah.
not like an excuse to behave in an unkind way towards
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah.
just because your brain might work differently or your nervous system might have different needs, that's fine and it's excellent to celebrate that.
Yeah.
At the same time, what I don't agree with is to force it on other people as a, you know what I'm
Absolutely.
like, my brain is like
Yeah.
that, and then being
Yeah.
unkind to them because of any behaviors that you engage
Yeah.
in. So it's
Like
just
your
finding
needs are
that
more
balance as
important.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
finding that balance that I find quite
yeah.
regulating in itself because I catch
Yeah.
myself sometimes wanting to
Yeah.
use that as an excuse. And I think, okay, no, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
I know I'm different and I know I do things in a different way, but I also need to understand that other people will have other ways of working as well, whether they are also neurodivergent or neurotypical, and I cannot force my way onto them. So I
Yeah.
need to find the space where we can interact and respect each other.
Absolutely. And I just so loved what you said about the curtain this morning and also movement, so important. But it is that self-empathy, that recognizing this thing that sounds little is going to have an enormous impact on how much more relaxed I'm able to be. And that is a good thing. And also, like you say, it's so important to not be inflicting our needs on others. And it is being a human is a constant balance, isn't it? Humaning with other
Absolutely.
people. And I'm so
Especially when
grateful.
you raise that awareness that
Yeah,
we so much talk about, what's the point of
yeah,
bringing, raising this increased awareness and, and being increasingly mindful if you don't do anything with it? Because
yeah,
it's mindfulness to me is not just this kind of like buzzword,
mm,
practice that, oh, I'm just going to be mindful for 5 minutes and look at the trees and admire them, or like I'm gonna close my eyes and I'm gonna have a lovely cup of tea and I'm going to be mindful. And
Mm.
no, it's actually being present, and present means that if there is somebody else in the room and they have other needs, you
Yeah,
appreciate that their needs are different, and
yeah,
how can you be kind towards them? So when you expect them to understand that you need to stand
yeah,
up and fix the curtain, whatever that might be for you, the
mm,
situation of the curtain is going to be different to different
yeah,
people. Uh, how can you do it in a way that you're kind to them?
hmm,
So when you expect them to be kind to you and not tell you, God, you're such a weirdo,
yeah,
I feel attacked because I've just been told that I'm a weirdo, but
yeah,
do things in a way that you find the middle ground, because I think
yeah,
that that's how we're going to grow as a society. Otherwise, it's going to be an
absolutely.
element of like us and them always, with like
Yeah,
neurodivergent, neurotypical, gay, straight, male, female,
mm,
black, white, whatever,
yeah.
all of that.
And I'm thinking, I remember hearing John Kabat-Zinn hundreds of years ago in London, and he was saying that the root word, that the mindfulness, it sounds very mindy, but the word it is it etymology that it comes from, it was basically heartfulness as well. So mindfulness without that compassion for yourself and for others isn't mindfulness. It just
Well,
doesn't work.
exactly.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
agree completely.
So moving into the love part, that part that you we're part of nature, we're part of the divine. There's nothing that needs changing, nothing that needs improving. What helps you connect with that kind of love archetype, that supportive acceptance, both ideal self-care and actual self-care? And that would be the uppercase S, the more spiritual, the transpersonal, your miraculous self.
Well, I think for me, I find my dog really grounding. Having an animal, I think is just really grounding because, and I guess as an animal, it can be children, it
Yeah.
can be anything that makes you realize that it's not all about you.
Yeah.
And I think when I think about when I lost my two dogs that I had, and I loved them dearly, and they died, and that spell that I had between that and now having my dog, my new puppy. Well, he's gonna be 2 next month. But I just felt okay. Might have more freedom because I don't need to think about like holidays,
Mm,
who is he going to stay with? And they never went into kennels, my dogs. So my,
yeah.
my cats, there was always somebody who came and stayed with them, or,
Yeah.
so I didn't have to worry about that. But also, I felt there was a need for me to care for something other than myself.
Yeah.
And in caring for something other than myself, then I'm cultivating love for myself as well,
Yeah.
because I realize that it's not all about me.
Yeah.
It's about how love is a shared experience.
Yeah.
And to have love for yourself in the first place, you need to be able to share the love with other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it might sound like
No, it doesn't.
counterintuitive, but
Yeah.
that's the way that I
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah, I'm working on a book about my polyvagal pairs approach where I use the rescue cats to help people understand polyvagal theory. And
Yeah.
part of it is exactly that. It is that we are part of nature and that we become like, I know this sounds really weird. This is going to sound so weird, but like I took one of the ferals to its new home an hour away, so I had to get it into the carrier to the vet. It had got to the stage where it had been Angel Houdini cat. It'd been attacking Maeve, the mammy that I adopted, but it had taken over a year before I could stroke it. And then it started coming to me for strokes before breakfast, same as Terry Crew's cat. But then in the past 9 months or so, it was letting me pick him up. And then he kind of actively wanted to be picked up outside the back door and carried across to the shed where I fed him. And every day when I do that, it was like he'd curl into my neck, nibble my ear, rub my nose, and I'd just be like purpose and meaning. Like this is just like, or when I'm a bridge for my original cat, Rainbow, and she leaps to wherever. And I just think it makes me feel like power, but in the best possible way. Like me being bigger and able to feed and clean the litter tray and all the things. It's that real connection with being able to do more to protect, to help facilitate their joy. And I don't know, I'm sounding like an even
No, no, it makes
bigger.
complete sense. I think because at the moment, at the end of the day, you are kind of ensuring their safety, and in
Yeah,
doing that, it you kind of like cultivate your own safety. It's kind of like shared safety.
it's the
You create a
co-regulation.
safe space for both of you because
Yeah,
they couldn't be safe without you because they are helpless.
yes,
So if they were just out in the world,
yeah,
they wouldn't be able to fend for themselves because sadly that's the
yeah,
way we've kind of like
yeah,
make these animals, they depend
yeah,
on us. So if they were completely wild, yes, of course, like a wolf
yeah,
doesn't need us, like a wild cat wouldn't need us. But the way that we've domesticated animals, they do need us. And in creating that shared space of safety, you're creating safety for yourself, and you're kind of
yeah,
like feeling you're part of something bigger. They are part
yeah,
of something bigger. You're part of something bigger, and it's that
yeah,
shared element of. For me, it's a really spiritual experience having
yeah,
a pet. It's not
yeah,
just having a pet.
yeah,
In fact, I've used that experience, but I hardly ever use the experience
yeah,
having a pet itself. It's more like it's a companion. It's like a
yeah,
soulmate. It's like for me.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, I look at my
yeah,
dog's eyes, I look into his eyes, and
yeah,
I kind of like see the universe in there.
yeah,
It's kind of he contains wisdom
yeah,
and intelligence and
yeah,
and even I've got fish. I've got a pond with like big goldfish, like like this big. I lost a few last year because they
yeah.
the oxygen pump started working, and we actually lost some of the bigger fish that were about
Mm.
15 years old.
Oh,
That was quite sad, but
yeah,
yeah, we've got some new ones and they're growing, and
yeah,
some of the old ones are still there.
yeah.
And when I feed them and they come up and they react to my voice, and I'm thinking there's intelligence in there.
Mm.
And I
Hmm.
even have like in my conservatory, I might be able to pick one up in a moment as well. I have ladybugs that just come
Oh,
to the house to like for the winter,
yeah,
and they just go into corners of the house, and I
yeah,
leave them there. I don't pick them up or
yeah,
anything. Some of them die because they don't make it through the
yeah,
winter, but some of them are in my kitchen. I literally get hundreds of them,
yeah,
and I think how intelligent are they that
yeah,
they for warmth and safety. The moment there's like a warm day, the sun is out and they start flying around in the conservatory. So I've got
yeah.
all these like insects flying around in the conservatory. And I'm thinking some people would think I'm completely mad because they would just spray them or,
Oh,
remove them. But
yeah,
I actually like them because I
yeah,
think they're intelligent beings and they are here trying
yeah,
to feel safe, and I feel
yeah,
like responsible for them.
yes,
And I'm thinking all of that is being part of something bigger. They
yes,
they are part of this universe that I've created for them,
yeah,
and I'm part of another universe that
yeah,
is there,
yeah,
and it's all these kind of like universes with one within another, almost like
yeah.
Russian dolls, and it makes me feel a bit like that having an
Yeah.
animal in the house.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like something you just said, it made me think about I got this tattoo star to
Yeah,
remind me to trust and surrender when I
yeah,
was 34. I was doing my psychosynthesis training and it's a transpersonal psychology. And what you're talking about with the animals, I think their trust in us helps us trust ourselves more and also
yeah.
trust in life more. I
So I've
think
got these like ladybugs.
yeah.
This is like a little um, turkey tail mushroom that grows in one of the bushes in my garden, and
Yeah.
there's a ladybug in there. Can you see it? Yeah. And
Oh,
I've got all these like cacti in my conservatory, and they just like they just go into the plants and stuff. I don't know what they eat. They probably just
yeah,
like survive on dust or something.
yeah,
But there's hundreds of them that actually make it onto the spring to
Yeah.
the spring just because they come into the house and then in the spring they just leave.
Oh,
So
brilliant.
I just
Yeah.
provide this kind of like shelter for these insects
Yeah.
to make it through the winter.
I used to want a red car and I was going to paint giant black flowers on the top. So from a distance, it looked like a giant ladybug. But I have a white car and I haven't done anything. But thank you so much for that. Moving to the third part, the final part of the framework, the heal bit, it's about the co-regulation, the collective care. What helps you in an ideal world as well as your essentials, both in terms of you've created a community for people like myself and like you're incredible, the work you've been doing for years and years. Um, what communities do you benefit from? Like, how do you let yourself be held as well as holding others?
Yeah, I think holding others is really important for me, and I feel that in my teaching as well. So when I teach at university as well, and I see like younger people, and you know how curious they are, and I feel like partly responsible for ensuring that they understand the nuances as well of
Mm,
the science and the kind of the diversity in the science as well. Because
yeah,
I don't know that in the mainstream of a university is always communicated clearly. So I make a
yeah,
point about talking about neurodiversity and you know diversity in general, and I think that's quite important. I think in terms of like how I feel held. Well, I think I feel held by a network of people who are really kind, like you're one of them. Like we're
oh,
not like friends as in like we're texting each other at night
yeah,
saying, "How are you?" But we're part of this again, kind of like bigger thing that we
mm,
all resonate with. And so we're part of this wave of change.
mm,
And even though it sounds ethereal and kind of a little bit kind of a mystical, I do feel held
mm,
by knowing that there are people out there who are in their own scope of practice
yeah,
doing similar things, or they
yeah,
are, you know, they are doing things in a different way, but they have the same kind of feelings and and drive to share those emotions that they
yeah,
are experiencing, and making sure that lived experience and how we take care of ourselves in different ways is communicated to other people. And yeah, I think being part of that through a lot of it through social media. So I know that
yeah,
social media gets like really bad press. It's like, oh, it's really bad for you. But it also has a lot of positives that it's allowed us
absolutely.
to connect. Like we connected through
Yeah,
Substack, and you know, and there will be other people as well that have connected through the years through Instagram or
yeah,
whatever, that they've become kind of like an extended layer
yeah,
of friends that
yeah,
I know that they resonate with my message and I resonate with them.
yeah,
And I think that is community at the end of the day in 2026. So it doesn't need to be a face-to-face community, which is lovely. And I appreciate that a lot of people need that
yeah,
a lot more than maybe others. And I do need the physical contact. So friendships, for example, are
yeah,
really important. So I had a meeting yesterday and I went to see a friend afterwards, and I find myself sometimes with my social battery, it's like I have to really judge whether I have the energy to meet people, even though I like them or not, because I'm thinking, okay, well, I might be struggling for energy at the moment because I've been doing a lot.
yeah,
And I had my parents are elderly. I had a very complicated situations with them the last couple of years, and you know, and it's just drained my energy a lot more than maybe if I hadn't had that situation as well. So I'm more aware of that. But equally, I met this friend. I ended up going to her place because it was raining, and she'd just been to the hairdressers, and she said, you know, why don't you come to my place instead and we have a coffee here? So
yeah,
I did that, and we chatted like nonstop, literally like, you
yeah,
know, both neurodivergent. So we were just
yeah,
like chopping and cutting each other like every two sentences we were saying something, and like, you know, we don't take offense, you know, like
yeah,
neurodivergent people normally with like, you know, we just always like talking on top of each
yeah,
other. And it was like that for like 3 hours. And I just felt actually quite energized. I thought,
Yeah,
wow, that was actually really healing. It was a
yeah,
really healing chat. We chatted a lot about personal things. We almost, when you do this like brain dump
yeah,
kind of and it's almost like I'm just going to update your Miguel operating system. Let me just give you my latest upload, my latest download of my operating system. And she did the same. And,
yeah,
and we chatted about loads of random things that, we hadn't shared for months. And, and yeah, and then she drove me to the train station and she stood there while I was taking the train. And I'm thinking that was the whole thing. I felt really held
wonderful.
by how
Yeah,
kind she was,
yeah,
and yeah, and that was a wonderful experience. And I think sometimes I don't do more of that because I've grown more aware of my own, as I was saying, like my social battery, sometimes just judging how replenishing that's going to be versus how difficult is it going to be to meet them logistically. Am I going to have to take the train? Is it raining? And then all of those things play in my head
yeah,
and detract from the enjoyment.
yeah,
So sometimes I don't go into that kind of situation because of all of those steps that I think, oh my God, it's draining me just thinking about
yeah,
it. But I do enjoy the face-to-face
yes,
um, contact. I think it's really, really healing. But
yeah,
otherwise, the extended layer of people who I know are there, and I may miss out on what they are saying because maybe the algorithm is not showing them on my feed,
yeah,
but then they pop up like weeks later and I think, oh, she's lovely. And you leave a comment and they leave a comment back
yeah,
and you feel that there's a connection in
yeah,
there. And I think that is healing as well.
yeah. So thank you so much. If you could send any love and wisdom back to a younger you at any stage, what might it be?
Um, Probably just thinking you are amazing and you didn't see it.
Yeah,
Because like now, even I look at photos of myself from the times that I thought I hated myself,
yeah,
kind of like I couldn't look at myself in the mirror and and I wasn't sure what I was doing, but I
yeah,
was doing loads of great stuff. It was just organic. I didn't have it all worked out. I didn't have a plan that I was following like step by step, but it did
yeah,
happen. And then at the more kind of like superficial physical level, I'm thinking, why was I so worried about? Why wasn't I even more on podiums dancing like
mm,
naked, just to show off? Because I was actually really good looking, 20, 30 years ago. But like I was looking at myself in the mirror and I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't want to look at myself in the mirror. I don't like myself. I hate my body. I hate my face. And like, I
yeah,
was almost, and then I was not trying to hide, but I wasn't a vain person,
yeah,
kind of like showing off as I may have been able to do if I had wanted to do it, you
yeah,
know? And I'm thinking, wow, why did I do that? And I think it's all a matter of like how, and I'm not saying that I'm stunning, either. I don't feel like that even now, but I'm saying it's all about how you see yourself.
yeah,
And I was thinking, why was I so worried about like, how my hair looked or my
yeah,
nose or my teeth or whatever, and why was I always thinking people were not going to like me? Or why didn't I feel that I was good enough compared to somebody else? Whereas those comparisons now, I'm just thinking, I still feel them, don't get me
yeah,
wrong, but I think they're less meaningful in a way. I kind of like just thought, you know what, I'm me. I am me.
yeah,
I'm not gonna be anybody else. I'm not going to look any different. Even if I try to look different, why would I want to try and look different? This is me, this is who I am, this is what I look like, this is what I do. Some people are going to like me, some people are going to hate me, and it's
yeah,
life. And I think if I had known that a little
yeah,
bit, that would have been amazing. But also, I realized the whole point of growing up is
yeah,
that you don't know it.
Yeah.
So you're not too cocky when you're 20 and you have fun and you do what you need to do and you go through life and you experience your insecurities because they teach you that later,
Mm,
when 30 years later, when you look back, you think, oh, wasn't I just a silly bugger, like 30 years ago? But, that's the
yeah.
whole point. You gather wisdom
Yeah.
and you create who you are through life, and that's the whole point of life. We learning is a learning journey.
And I love the compassion and love for the younger yous that shines through as you even say that. Thank you so much for joining me again. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Eve. Always a pleasure to me as well.
Where can people find you online?
Well, I'm most active on Instagram. So if you find me on Instagram as Dr. Miguel Mateas, that is my handle. And I'm on Substack as well, but I'm kind of like almost on two minds. I'm in two minds as to whether to continue with Substack or not because it's become really noisy the
Yeah.
last year or so. So I've been thinking about starting to write my newsletter actually from my own website.
Yeah.
So yeah, so maybe just
Yeah.
find me on Instagram because that's the best place for
Where can
yeah.
people subscribe to your newsletter?
Yeah, so if you find me on Instagram, then
Hmm.
you'll find my website as well,
Okay, okay.
drmiguelmateas.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Want to,
yeah, like all the
I'm
links will be there.
really looking forward to reading your book.
Thank you so much, Eve.
Thanks again. As you think about this episode, I want you to imagine scanning your whole body, your whole energy field from the soles of your feet to your soles, and notice what has come up for you as you've listened, as you think about it now. How might you show yourself some extra love, some extra care today, this week? Make some notes, doodle, whatever feels good. And if it feels comfortable and you want to email Eve at soulstosoul.ie or comment in any of the comment areas, do feel free. Subscribe, rate, review, all the things. But thank you for listening. I'm your host and producer, Eve Menezes Cunningham. Find full links in the show notes and full transcript. And let me know if you have any questions. Really looking forward to joining you again next week and have a brilliant week.